Our second panelist, Mr. Chandra Wickramasinghe. He counts over 40 years of experience in the leisure industry. So he's the founder chairman of Connaissance de Ceylan Private Limited, Malu Malu Resorts and Spa, Alia Resorts and Spa, Themes Resorts and Spa, and CDC Events and Travels, and much more. So he's also the founder president of Alliance Francaise de Côte. He is a past president of the Travel Agents Association of Sri Lanka and a past president of the Sri Lanka Association of Inbound Tour Operators. He is a former board member of the Sri Lankan Tourism Promotion Bureau and the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority. Mr. Wickramasinghe, it is a great honor to have you here with us despite your busy schedule. You very recently, 3 days ago, you opened your newest hotel in Galloya, and we are very delighted that you could be here with us today. And our final panelist, Professor Suranga Silva. So he is the Secretary General of the Tourism and Hospitality Educators and Research Association of Asia, the Director of Center for Economic Research and Industrial Policy Analysis Act, the Director of Colombo University Community Extension Center, Chief Editor of Journal of Tourism, Economics and Applied Research, Executive Chairman of Executive Council, Alumni Association of Tourism, Economics and Hospitality Management at University of Colombo, Founding Coordinator of Masters in Tourism, Economics and Hotel Management, President of the Tourism Leaders Summit and International Tourism Research Conference, University of Colombo, and the Founding Coordinator of the Tourism Study Programs, Department of Economics, Faculty of Arts at University of Colombo. Professor, it's a great privilege to have you here on board with us. Once again, a warm welcome to all of our panelists. With that introduction, let me commence our panel discussion. Connectivity and competitiveness. Competitiveness in a country is a very important factor when it comes to tourism. So especially Sri Lanka, depending on the tourism industry, it makes a more vital factor. Being a competitive destination is to attract more visitors to the destination, increase the tourism spending, and provide them with satisfactory experience profitably as well as in a sustainable manner. And our ultimate objective should be to maintain the favorable competitive position in the world tourism market. So the locality of the tourism product, the culture, the diversity, and all these potentials with a good connectivity provide values to this tourism supply. And not only a unique tourism product is what we require, but we also have to have a good marketing and well as a good promotional strategies in order to make Sri Lanka a competitive destination in this global tourism market. And when it comes to connectivity, connectivity is one of the most important part of the tourism competition. In order to do tourism in a destination, we have to have connectivity to that tourism destination. Without connectivity, that destination won't be able to have tourism industry, practice the tourism industry in that country. So, because of this importance, it has become one element to measure the competitiveness of the destinations under the tourism competitive index as well. Currently, we are receiving 96.4% of tourists from airlines as well as 3.6% of the tourists from cruise. So, air connectivity is a very critical, very crucial element when it comes to the economic growth, economic development of Sri Lanka, especially the small island destinations. So, with that brief introduction, let me move to the first round of questions. My first question goes to Mr. Pathirage. So, Mr. Pathirage, now we know this connectivity and then the tourism goes together. And without connectivity, we know now our tourism destination won't be able to practice this tourism industry. So, we know apart from Sri Lankan Airlines, there are other competitive airlines in the market. So, I want to ask you, with the current pandemic, with the current situation, how are you maintaining its competitiveness in the market?
Yeah, so I think it's a very, very valid question. So obviously, right, I mean, we have developed ourselves as a, strong tourist destination up to now, mainly because, I mean, there has been good connectivity, right? So Sri Lankan Airlines has been there for a very long time. I think it has done a really great service to this country by bringing tourists. And as you also know, tourism brings almost about 4.5 billion. Right before COVID, we earned $4.5 billion. So I think out of those tourists, about 45 to 50% has been brought to this country by Sri Lankan Airlines. Although that you see in newspapers that Sri Lankan Airlines have lost, you know, $50 million, or sometimes you might see $100 million. Sri Lankan Airlines have directly contributed to bring at least half of the tourism revenue to this country, right? So that will, obviously, that is one part of, that is one of our main focus areas, right? And also you must understand that is the duty of the national carrier. So we are the national carrier. One of the duties is to make sure that we bring tourists, because tourism is one of the key economic, sectors of the country. So so we will definitely continue, and even during the COVID period, like during the last 4 to 5 months, we have added new destinations. You may have seen, we started, going to Moscow. That destination is actually doing really well. We have increased the frequency, right? Up to October, we flew only once a week. Now we have increased it to twice a week, but most of the flights are full, right? So then recently we launched France. So now that's a destination. Previously, the previous management, they stopped flying to France. They stopped flying to Rome. They stopped flying to other destination. Only they flew to UK, right? So that was the decision that they took. Now I'm not trying to debate why they took that decision, but the fact is we realized, right? We have a big role to play, and we need to activate these markets. If you ask Mr. Wickramasinghe, he will tell, he's a veteran. He's one of the pioneers who have built, the French tourism, right? So France has been a, it has to be a key market for us. He was there with me, right? And we did a lot of groundwork. So this is the first month, what we see today is out of the bookings by December that our flights are getting full. So you can't make decisions, when you make a decision adding a destination, it's like a business development. Overnight, you're not going to get all the flights coming with 100% tourists. It's a progress, right? So we have taken this decision thinking long term. So we will stay put and develop, and we also have to do a lot of work. So we have been doing lots of promotions, events, and then apart from us, Sri Lanka Tourism, they have a big role to play in developing, in promoting our destination, right? More than us. But Sri Lankan Airlines has not waited for them to do the promotions. We have taken upon ourselves, and we are actually doing a tremendous job, right, in that sense. And I can tell you, right, India is one of our biggest markets, right? India, we used to fly 128 flights per week to India before COVID. So now gradually we can see there's a huge increase. Right now we are doing about 50. So hopefully next year that we are planning to go back to the same or even more if the situation develops. Then China. China has been a very big market, but unfortunately China is not allowing their, people to go out, right? So hopefully we expect maybe middle of next year that will happen. So we need Chinese. Chinese was our number one tourism. Then number two, India. But I think over a period of time, India will definitely take over China. So these two countries, obviously, we need to put a lot of effort. Not only Europe, right? UK has been a traditional market, so we expect UK to now they just opened up for us, and we expect UK to perform, right, in the coming months, at least in December. So in fact, we are increasing the frequency of flights. So what I'm trying to tell is, Sri Lankan Airlines will do their job. There's no question about it. We will. That is one of our biggest responsibilities. And we will fulfill that, right? With all the problems what we are having, we will run, right? So, and make sure that the country, we will support the tourism and national economy. Now, you must not forget, during COVID time, right, we only brought all these, stranded, our workers, our students and everybody, and even the vaccines were brought to this country by Sri Lankan Airlines, right? So, Sri Lankan Airlines has done a tremendous job. Yes, My job is, my vision is to make sure that Sri Lankan Airlines will be profitable, right? I mean, if I think that Sri Lankan Airlines doesn't have a chance to be profitable, you must understand I am not going to waste my time, right? Why I am there is because I am confident we can do that. But for us to do that, obviously, right, we need the stakeholder support. Government is the owner, not me. I'm just doing an honorary job. So I think, hopefully, things will be good for Sri Lankan Airlines as well, for tourism and for the country.
Yeah, thank you so much. It is good to hear that the national carrier is not staying put, but amidst this situation that we are facing right now, but with small steps developing further. So thank you so much. So my next question goes to Mr. Chandra Wickramasinghe. So your forte is inventing new products and services in this Sri Lanka tourism and hospitality sector. Every year there is a new hotel coming up from your company. If I'm not wrong, this year you opened your 10th hotel in Galloya, Wild Glamping Galloya, and I believe you are the only person who opened hotels likewise in this pandemic situation. So you were the person who brought Mandaram Nuwara into the tourism map and created the awareness among the domestic tourists as well as Sri Lankan tourists to travel to that destination, and created the awareness that there is a beautiful destination like this in Sri Lanka to see, to visit. So my question for you is, how do you see this new product development in tourism and its future?
Well, before that, 1996, we went to Kandalama. When we went to Kandalama, nobody knew where Kandalama is. Then I went and built a hotel called Culture Club. After that, Mr. Bava came to Kandalama and he built Kandalama Hotel. And Kandalama itself became a biggest destination in the cultural triangle. And it attracted so much of clientele to Sri Lanka. So likewise, if you see sometimes back 1960s, people didn't know Sri Lanka, but people knew Bentota. The charters to Bentota, to Beruvala, that time Sri Lankan Airlines wasn't there. Actually, Air Lanka was operating, adding a little bit of what Mr. Patirage said. National carrier has to play a major role to develop Sri Lanka tourism, especially when during the terrorism period from 1983, all the European airlines went off the line. Only Sri Lankan kept it going after getting destroyed about 6 airplanes. And with all those, they got destroyed, and we saw Sri Lankan Airlines burning, broken into 2, that image. And with all those things, they managed to build a superb reputation on security, especially airlines. People that get into the airline, when you see these type of things, bombs had exploded about 5-6 airlines. It's coming back to the new destinations in Sri Lanka. So you see, with our highways coming in, earlier everybody went to Adua, Kalutara, things like that. Now people are going towards Valigama, Koggala Valigama, Mirissa, Thingol, because people tend to change the destinations, because maybe Bentota, I know Mr. Patirge has a hotel in Bentota. It's a fantastic location. Other than that, people to go into a place, they need to have very special place. So what we add is, our model of business is not adding number of rooms, number of experiences, which is being unique and authentic. I don't know, it's very difficult for us to tell what is the USP of Sri Lanka, unique sales point. There are so many. As you said, maybe airline is a unique sales point sometimes, because with these girls, earlier people, Singapore girls, then smooth as silk, but Sri Lankan has a different hospitality-based airline industry, I should say. But likewise, then biodiversity. Sri Lanka is one of the best 20 spots of the world when you're talking about biodiversity, in the sense we should take flowering trees, birds, elephants, whatever you call it, amphibians. We are in top list of the Asia #1, maybe world, certainly it is. But we have a huge problem because our population density also is killing into biodiversity. If you see elephant density, every year we are losing about 300 elephants. Now, for the last 10 years, we have lost about 3,000 elephants. So when are you going to, like, now due to the Morgahakanda project, we don't have any more the elephant gathering, which is one of the world's best attractions. Last 2 years, 450 elephants have become to about 150. And there's a research going on that. I think we should, government and even people like us should make a more efforts and more this thing to protect this biodiversity heritage that we have. Then bio and the cultural diversity, which is also fantastic. We have Buddhist-based attractions, then Hindu-based attractions, Muslim-based attractions. These are all can attract so many tourists into the country. So I think USP for Sri Lanka is very difficult to say. Even the beaches. Now beaches also part of biodiversity. But our beaches, we have about, I think, 16.5 million plastics is washing into our oceans, metric tons per annum. So this is going to be a big issue in time to come. I'm talking about our next generation. Another 10 years' time, what are going to be our major attractions? I think Mr. Patrike can tell more about myself about city tourism, because he's the man who is going to do a lot of city tourism.
You want me to add something?
Yes, yes. But you see, even the city tourism, we have not taken it as it's a biggest, the attraction is going to be like city tourism like Singapore. Who are the competitors? Maybe Singapore, Bangkok. I don't talk about Paris and Dubai maybe. So Dubai is getting about 20 million tourists to the city, Dubai. And Bangkok is about 27 million. And Sri Lanka is only 527,000 tourists to Colombo, with about 10,000 rooms? Not even, sorry, with about 5,000 rooms in Colombo. And I think shopping, tourism, and the casinos, all those things. If you compare to Paris, Paris has about 40 million tourists to that city itself. But they have a lot of museums, a lot of walking streets, shopping malls all over. So I think when the China city or the new city, when it comes to operation within another 10 years' time, Colombo will be a biggest attraction. It's a different clientele, total different clientele. I think medical tourism, all those things, I think Mr. Patirage can add something into this on city tourism.
Yeah, so I think, Chandra, that's good that you brought that up. I think that is something that, no, we don't need to wait till Port City to come. No, that is why we are sitting here in this Shangri-La Mall, right? And then, you have found, there were a few other malls like Colombo City Center, right? In my personal capacity, we are building Odell Mall probably. It will be open by 2023. Before that, the Havelock City Mall will open, right? So I think entertainment and shopping is a key part, right, to attract people into Colombo, and then conventions. So I think, after the war ended, right, I think Sri Lankan businesses and the government has put a lot of effort, right? So these malls and, apartments have not, come up in one day. So, but unfortunately, what happened was that we had 2 years of disruption in COVID, and before that we had another further 1 year because of these attacks, right? So the new hotels have opened, right? New malls have opened, but the tourists have not been able to make use of that. So I think that has been a very unfortunate thing. I think we are ready, right, in a small way. Now Port City will happen, right, those investments, first of all, I think we need to build the momentum before investors will come and invest money in those. So all that will happen. So I think that's a big area that we need to really push, right? Colombo as entertainment center. So I think, India is such a big market. I think we must really look into India to get Indians to come here, because Colombo is such a peaceful, it's not only when you take entertainment, there are many aspects of entertainment. There is food, there is shopping. Now if you look at shopping, now you know that probably we have the most number of international brands we represent in this country. I don't know whether you all have tried out us. Our prices are probably cheaper than in Singapore or Bangkok or even in Dubai. Definitely cheaper than Dubai, right? So I think it's a great opportunity. It's not only for the tourists, it's all for Sri Lankans. Who goes and spend all their money overseas. I think in a given time like this, we can retain that foreign exchange, which is going out of this country. So I think we are ready, Chandra. Right? We have to start. I think we have enough infrastructure being invested by the private sector to start this. But I think what we need is a peaceful time. We need the COVID to settle down, right? And then obviously that we need to highlight these things. Like, now in Dubai there is, shopping weeks. I think shopping month or something, right? Dubai festival. I think shopping festival. So we need to do things like that here. Right? It's not only for the Sri Lankans, but we need to attract the foreigners. People will come. But I think those initiatives has to be taken. We can't just put everything onto the government. I think, but we must, private sector and the authorities, all must come together, and the airlines, all must come together and, develop this. Because that's a very important aspect of tourism.
Yes, I believe as both of you told that Sri Lanka tourism needs this new product development to go to the future. We can't rely on the typical tourism products that we have been selling for the past decade. So we have to think new. We have the potential, as both of you told. We have not just one unique selling position, but we have several things to sell. Diversity, culture, everything. So what we have to do is we have to untap this potential. Definitely, and then be creative, be innovative, and then sell our uniqueness to the international market. That's what I think we should do. So with that note, we'll be moving to Professor Suranga Silva. So Professor, you are one of the pioneering academic symbols in the tourism industry, and you are one of the leading personalities generating knowledgeable human resources to the industry. So I want to ask from you, as an academic, what is your contribution towards this competitiveness and then the connectivity of the tourism industry?
Thank you very much. As you know, that tourism industry has become very competitive industry, and it has become very complex industry as well. One time we had a time we hadn't that much competitiveness, and we were the first destination of one in South Asian country as a tourist destination. But now it has become a competitive industry. The research and knowledge is very important. Knowledge is the most important ingredient according to new economics theories, we call indigenous theories. That the knowledge is to drive the economy. So knowledge is wealth of the nation. If you can empower the nations with knowledge, that is very important. At this time also, we are trying to practice the knowledge, bridging the gap between the practitioners and the academic. Sometimes we have been blamed and named as a useless studies are doing, and it is not important for tourism educations. But you see now that Sri Lanka Tourism Expo is one very good example, combining the policymakers, practitioners and academic. So this is the place we can bridge the industry with different angle. The connectivity is so important to create the maximum output or outcome that can be generated from the tourism industry. Now, as we understood that connection and the connectivity is creating the tourist satisfaction. Example, if tourists can come to Sri Lanka as they plan without any delay, by using the different modes, and if they can reach the place according to their requirement, so they are very happy. At the same time, connectivity is creating the synergy effect. Now, example, we know that Sri Lanka tourism, today we are celebrating the global tourism as a UNWTO World Tourism theme, that is the integrated tourism. So we call that tourism for inclusive growth. So can we have the inclusive growth without having the connectivity? So SME sector must be connected with the large scale, and the travel agencies must be connected with other industries, and policymakers must be connected with the implementations. At the same time, the connectivity is very important to ensure the people-centric tourism development, which is one of the most important target of present government. So we have seen that most of the people are talking about the physical connectivity, but I have seen that there's a huge gap between the service connectivity and satisfaction connectivity. So therefore, it is our responsibility to do a research and identify what purpose tourists are coming to Sri Lanka under new pandemic situations. So what are their main objective? Are they going to be the same tourists what they asked earlier? They have been very different than the earlier tourists, but basically they have put the first priority for the health and safety. At the same time, their travel pattern has been changed. So therefore, it is our responsibility to find out what type of tourists now globally is emerging, and those tourists, how we can cater with very good services. Now, as Mr. Patrike said that Sri Lanka tourism is now growing up, but there are a lot of challenges. Most of the challenges are coming because of the lack of the information disseminations. Now, we have seen that information gap must be filled. Otherwise, our decision making would not be very correct decision making and outcome driven decision making. So we believe that providing right education and doing right research for outcome or result driven activities for tourism development is a must right now. So basically we can see that our neighbor countries are now, they are doing a lot of competitive strategies. Sometimes we have realized that some countries, we can develop Sri Lanka tourism by using their synergy effect for Sri Lanka tourism. When you look at Maldivian tourists, we can see that they are coming for the beautiful beaches by high-end customers, but they cannot find the natural attraction and cultural diversity. So therefore, we have to find out how we can connect international market to Sri Lanka tourism by using their competitive advantage and by using our competitive advantage. So therefore, my main highlight fact is that connectivity is one of the key factors to ensure the sustainability of tourism. We cannot get the sustainable tourism if we have no strong connectivity and effective way of connection with the other sectors of the country.
Well, thank you so much, Professor. I believe as an academic, you are doing your maximum in this regard by conducting research activities and then providing the best practices, and then in order to initiate them in our country, which is in a most suitable manner. So with that, we will move to the second round of questions. I will start with Mr. Patrike again. So, Mr. Patrike, now in 2025, we have a target to achieve around 4 million tourists in Sri Lanka. So, as the national carrier, I want to ask you, is Sri Lankan Airlines ready to receive these 4 million tourists to our country? So, are there any kind of requirements do you see that you should be achieving before we go there, or else do you see yourself ready to do that?
So I mean, I have a very simple answer to that. This is called demand and supply, right? So if the demand is there, right, I mean, we will supply. It's not a problem, right? So, so 4 million is, we are just talking about double the tourists we receive, not even double, right? So I don't think that's a challenge at all, not only for Sri Lankan Airlines, because I think now, you know, this is 2025 they are talking about.
2025, yes.
So I think 2025, our second phase of airport also will be ready most probably, because I think that's a big plus. You know, during COVID during COVID time, you know, our airport was not even, was not adequate enough even to, support the tourists who came at that time, right? So I think you can't bring 4 million tourists unless that the airport is expanded. So I think hopefully, right, I think the plans next 3 years that they are going to open phase 2. So with that, I mean, it's not only Sri Lankan Airlines, I'm sure there are other carriers also, like, your sponsors, Emirates, I think. Emirates, I mean, Qatar, right, all these carriers will definitely increase the frequencies if the demand is there, right? So it's a demand supply thing. And Sri Lankan Airlines, obviously, right, I mean, we would love to cater to not only 4 million, if the Tourism Promotion Bureau and the stakeholders and if everybody can get together and, bring 6 million tourists, we are still happy to, provide that assistance. Not a problem. I don't think that's a problem. I think what you need to really look at is other infrastructure, like whether we have the hotels, right? Because hotels doesn't take, I mean, it takes a long time to build a hotel. So whether we have those things to cater for 4 to 5 million tourists, whether we have enough rooms, I don't know. Now those are the things that we need to look at, and the infrastructure in terms of the roads, right? Are we really, developing the destinations, like some of the destinations that we have identified, right? So those aspects you need to look at. Now for Sri Lankan Airlines or other carrier, it's just a matter of leasing aircrafts and bringing these, tourists. It's not a very big problem for them. So we are ready. I mean, as I told you, even more, we are fine. More the merrier, right, for the country and for the airline.
Yeah, that's great to hear that whatever the amount that you will be receiving from the other countries, you are ever ready to receive it. So my next question goes to Mr. Wickramasinghe. Now, in the tourism product you are taking to the market, as I told you earlier, there's always innovativeness inbuilt and the creativity inbuilt in your tourism product, whether it's a hotel or it's a tour itinerary, whatever the tourism product it is. So, I believe that this, as I told you, this is what should be inbuilt in our tourism product as overall as well. So, I want to ask from you, what are your innovative suggestions for the new product development in the Sri Lanka tourism to make Sri Lanka more attractive destination to the tourists?
Again, it's a very important question and very difficult to answer the question exactly. As you said, we have to follow the trends. World trends, sometimes it's for all-inclusive tourism. That means people travel. That's not the very mass market travel to beach resorts, right? Now I don't think people will look at products like that. And Sri Lanka has, except ski, we have all other facilities to offer. And to get 4 million tourists, we are ready. We have hotel rooms, now about 100,000 hotel rooms. Tourist board had registered about 50,000 hotel rooms. Plus there are so many hotels are under construction. What is lacking, where Mr. Patrike said, the other infrastructure, airport will be ready. I think airport, we were handling about 9 million passengers earlier. It was done for about 6 million. Now we need to take into second stage. But what to promote, create a demand, then they said about Maldives. Maldives is a different kind of product where to discover Maldives you have to go underwater. It's a different culture. But where Sri Lanka is concerned, we have underwater also. And we have also a lot of cultural history, Buddhism-based tourism, and also now the biggest sector we can develop is spa and Ayurveda sector. Because in the world there are only 2 countries you can do wellness tourism based local Helavedagama and Ayurveda, and maybe you need to do little bit of polish Ayurveda into new trends, right? So there is a big demand, and I have Ayurveda hotel in Valigama. It's almost now 60-70% full with German clientele. So I think Sri Lanka has so many things to offer, and prior to Easter Sunday, we didn't have any problems because all the hotels were full. Nobody is coming behind the government to ask for any aid or any support or something like that. Everybody was happy, and what we were getting a very good price too, because I remember the prior to 2009, we were selling Hilton for about $30-40. $50 we can get Hilton at that time. But after the war is over, thanks to the the government at that time, and tourism took a different turn in the country, and this $50 became 160, 150. So we need to continue with that trend, getting little bit of I can't say only high end, and there will be lot of segments to develop, like even the youth travel. Youth travel may be not very attractive as you think, but they stay about 3 months. Each youth travel flash packers, I'm not talking about hippies, they spend about $3,000 in a country as far as research are concerned, and also the airlines. So you travel, then the adventure travel, then we can develop a lot of things, trekking in Sri Lanka, and wildlife. Wildlife is fantastic in Sri Lanka, but we need to put all those things in a very organized manner, because we have to have a lot of good interpreters, good guides, language specialists. All those things, we have to encapsulate all those things into one as a product, which is quite difficult, but I think we have been doing it quite well, because we can't, as you said, we can't wait until the Sri Lanka tourism or the tourism ministry or the Sri Lankan to bring us clients. We have to go to the road, we have to go towards the market, traditional, non-traditional market, hoteliers, travel agents. We have to go and get our our share from each market. If you stay here and if you just build a hotel to people to come, no, it will not come. So there should be a very good, smart marketing strategy to the country. So that can't be done only by the government officials with tourist board and things like that. There are a lot of private sector people who they have done it very nicely, and they have done it very stylishly to attract more and more clientele to Sri Lanka.
Well, thank you, Mr. Wickramasinghe. I believe if we want to become trendsetters in this industry, we have to explore and then see what is happening outside. Okay, if we are talking about Maldives, what is happening in Maldives? If we are talking about India, what is happening in India? Not to replicate the same thing in Sri Lanka, but to see what they are doing and how we can implement that in Sri Lanka in our own ways. I believe that's how we can improve as a tourism destination. So we will be moving to Professor Suranga. As a professor in tourism economics, I believe you are the most appropriate person to answer this question. As a measurement of the factors that make it attractive to develop business in the travel and tourism industry of individual countries, we use the Travel and Tourism Competitive Index. And 139 countries are ranked according to 4 indexes: regulatory frameworks, business environment, infrastructure, human, and then natural resources. And under each of these indexes as well, there are variables like ICT, human resources, and then health and safety, hygiene, measurements likewise. So if we take 2019 statistics and take into consideration the Asian countries, Vietnam is ranking 63rd, and Indonesia 40th, and India 34th, where Sri Lanka is 77th. So what do you think about this, Professor?
As Mr. Wickramasinghe very clearly mentioned that tourism industry's competitiveness must be increased. For that one, government cannot do everything. Government must provide the enable environment and policy measures. But private sector must be more innovative and productive, and public-private partnership could be more useful. But what we have seen that when you look at more realistic approach, we can see that Sri Lanka tourism competitiveness has been declined. So 2017, we were 64th place in the world out of the 140 countries, but now it has become 77th place according to the Global Travel and Tourism Competitive Index. So when we look at this one, we can see what were the factors behind this declining competitiveness. So before that one, we must be more realistic than the optimistic or pessimistic if we really want to see the right answers for Sri Lanka tourism development. So when I see what factors behind this Sri Lankan competitiveness are decreasing, one of the major factors is the openness. We have less openness. That open to other industries, other countries to run their business and investment is a very important thing. I think once we start the port city and new development would enhance the openness category. In addition, when I look at India, 34th place, when you look at their archaeological, cultural and natural attractions, we can see that they are much more better than Sri Lanka. So why it has been happen? Most of the attractive site in archaeology and nature and culture, at accessibility Sri Lanka is very lacking. Most of the places accessibility is very lacking. At the same time, the employment, now it has become more aggravated. Human resource development, when you consider about India, it is much more better than Sri Lanka. And Japan is the number fourth best country in the world. So when I see the Vietnam and other countries, human resource development is a very important aspect to be considered. So we are very fortunate when you look at the other aspects, sustainability, environment protections, those aspects are very good. Actually, Mr. Patrike, if we are also compared to our competitive countries, we are a little bit below than the other competitive countries. There could be one reason because of example, some people, when we have done some research, we have realized that airport facilities must be further developed, and most of the facilities are very expensive without having the good quality services. That is why some tourists have been named Sri Lanka as a not so Sri Lanka, but reform Sri Lanka. So it is actually very dangerous if that type of perception is coming. But we, being the realistic, we believe that because of the COVID pandemic, Easter Sunday attack, we had to face, no other countries had to face their situations. So we trust that with our leadership and create corrective measures to be taken right now, we would definitely be a very competitive destination in the region because we have a very attractive natural resources and the cultural diversity. The very important fact we should understand that innovation is a little bit lacking in Sri Lanka. So therefore, private sector must take the leadership and try to develop new tourism product. Example now, we know that post-COVID tourism development, vaccination to destination right now promoting, a lot of people are trying to do more vaccination to enhance the destination attractiveness. The other thing is entertainment enlightenment. So many people would like to come to Sri Lanka right now, not just entertainment, but they would like to have some experience-based enlightenment. So experience-driven tourism development is a must for Sri Lanka tourism competitiveness to be increased.
Well, thank you, Professor. I think, I believe what you are saying is that for Sri Lanka to become a competitive destination, it doesn't matter whether we have the potential only and then the tourism product only, but there are other things that we have to consider. That is why we are in the 77th rank there. So the other countries, if you take into consideration the Spain, Germany, France, those countries are on top because they are focusing on the elements like human resource development, the infrastructure development and the sustainability, all of these factors along with the tourism development. So it is a cooperation between all of these things, I believe, and so we have to focus in the same manner in order to develop tourism industry in Sri Lanka. So we will move to the last round of questions. I will start with Mr. Patirage. So Mr. Patirage, please tell me, like, as the national courier, what are the steps you have taken in order to attract tourists to Sri Lanka?
Well, we have done many, right? I mean, like adding, so we are not the ones who are doing the tourism development. So there are other bodies who has to do that.
Yeah.
So on our part, what we have done is we have added destinations. So when we add destinations, obviously, right, I mean, we go into those destinations even before we launch, right, I mean, the product, right, we do marketing, we create the banners, right, and all that. So that's the only thing that we can do. So I have even, you know, restarted the destinations, the previous ones who have stopped. So I think that is the first thing,
Yeah.
right? And in a COVID situation that we have been, I must tell you, we have been very aggressive to launch destinations. So which we have done. And so I think that's our part from a Sri Lankan perspective, what we can do, and we have done that.
Okay, but I have seen that Sri Lankan Airlines along with Sri Lankan Holidays has released certain marketing campaigns, promotional campaigns in order to promote Sri Lanka as a tourism destination, and which was in a magnificent way. And if I'm not wrong, Sri Lankan Airlines is the official airline partner of the Raid Amazon's World biggest female adventure challenge coming up in March
So that we are
20.
doing with Connaissance.
Exactly, going along with Connaissance.
So he's the owner of that. We are just, you know, doing some support service.
Support service.
Yeah, but the great service
Yeah.
which Sri Lankan is doing to tourism is, this is the only airline has direct flights to Colombo. Not a single other airline has that facility. All others are coming from either from Middle East, 2-3 hours stay there, maybe extra antigen test or whatever it is, test there, and the quickest way it's 10 hours, 9 hours, 11 hours. Where others, if you take another flight, you take about 15 hours to come here, 15, 16 hours, because you have to do a stopover. So I think the greatest service which Sri Lankan Airlines doing is direct flights as well as tourism operators. First choice is, the travelers' first choice is also direct flights. Direct flights is can make big difference. I remember when Vietnam Airlines started from, they put Paris, Hanoi, Paris, Hanoi direct flights. So that took that the destination much popular, because people are fed up of, you know, that type of clients fed up of going and staying in Middle East and coming. It's nice, but they prefer direct flights. Some people don't like to, you know, go down and come back 4 times, you know. So the because of that, Sri Lankan is, I think, for us it's a big plus mark. Even for Paris, I think take little time to do it. Not only Paris, I think there's a good catchment area from Belgium, from Switzerland, from Holland. People might join the flight from Paris.
Yeah, I believe it would be, in this kind of a situation, it would be a great spotlight to the tourism industry
Yeah.
as well as a turning point as well.
But you know, as far as the competitiveness is, where Professor said,
Yeah.
I beg to disagree with this surveys. But if you see Condé Nast Traveler Research or CNN Traveler Research, within 5 countries, Sri Lanka is there as a destination. Here we are talking about maybe economic factors and all other factors, investment risk and things like that. As a destination, you go and do a research in any of these places, CNN, then New York-based some travel this thing. Then Sri Lanka with coming within 2-3, you know, best destinations. That is what we count. I mean, these are all very too technical for a tourist to think is, okay, airline is directly there, it's less than $1,000 or $800. They look at that for them and the hotels and all other stuff like you know, investment, what do you call, services and all those things. I don't think Sri Lanka, we have never, up to moment, we have human resource issues, but up to now, last 40 years, not a tourist had come and said, oh, Sri Lanka is bad service, we don't have civil service, people are not, you know, our smile goes long away, and you know, just people might not come here to have only big silver service, 8 courses menus and things like that. Because if you go in natural way, I think, you know, the most of this research, in that research, we will not invest in Sri Lanka. If you see that your competitiveness research. But how many foreign companies are coming here to manage hotels? So they know, they also do their own research. So I think these are good, have this very technically research, but person to fly to a country, first thing is they check what is the airline, how long it will take, how much it will cost. That is the most deciding factor.
Well, thank you, Mr. Vikramasinghe. Now, my next question is also going to be on you. So, in this pandemic situation, you have become a role model, becoming a role model to the entire industry. You have shown that if you stay positive and drive towards where you want to go, no pandemic or no any other situation can stop you. If I am not mistaken, despite having so many barriers in last June, when Sri Lanka was in lockdown, you brought a French naval group comprising of 745 packs to Sri Lanka. So, this is an excellent example of how Sri Lanka tourism can flourish under the right rules and regulations if we are following them in the correct manner. So, I want to ask from you, what are your recommendations for this industry to manage in this crisis situation?
Well, I look at it two ways. First, the financial crisis, which the bankers, the government should get us a win-win situation for us to continue. At the moment, we are okay because up to June we have moratoriums, we don't think of paying banks. So I know we have to protect the banks, financial systems, so we are not specialized on those, but government has very specialized teams to continue that. Financial stability to tourism sector is very important, DMCs as well as hotels as well as all other stakeholders. Then you asked me something else. You asked me something.
I'm asking about how you can.
How
yeah.
you can.
Yeah.
Regarding this naval ship also, when the French embassy, actually it has been 5 months out in this area, not a single country wanted to take that ship because of COVID situation. It went to Japan, Indonesia, Thailand, all these people. Then when they asked me, actually it's not, the French embassy asked me and I said, look, you get to get clearance from the government. So the government is very bold enough to give all the clearances. We had a lot of bad publicity on this because when everywhere is closed, we got to open the bars because it's about 720 people and we have to take a lot of hotels exclusively. So these things are, we have to take a risk. We took a huge risk with my colleagues who worked for the ship and nobody got positive after working. So we have 68 people work for the ship. Even the French naval ship, they were very scared whether they will carry some, infections from here and get COVID when they travel back to France. So these are sort of risks that we take. That and all other thing is for new destinations. This is what we need, even Sigiriya. Now all of a sudden Pidurangala became more popular than Sigiriya for young flashbackers, stylish type tourists. They just climb Pidurangala and from there take a beautiful shot of Sigiriya and come. And even the places like Hirikatiya. Hirikatiya is today, I don't think the land value there is very expensive. It's a beach spot, ideal spot for this thing. Very rich families from, we don't know even, they come direct to Hirikatiya to do surfing. So there are things like that, even Kalpitiya, kite surfing. All those new products we have to now come back. We want to go to Kalpitiya, we have some investment, we want to do some development in Kalpitiya. Likewise, you have to come out with new products, like even Sri Lankan food is becoming very popular now all over the world. So these things are all plus points. Target to have 4 million tourists. It's not that difficult. The COVID is stopping at the moment. I think from next year, hopefully we'll come back to normal.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, from what you told, what I think is that we have to take challenges. This is just another chapter that we have to go through with the pandemic time period. We can't just sit back and then wait until the things to become normal, but we have to always make things normal and then move ahead in this tourism business if we want to flourish and then come to up to a certain point. Professor, moving to you, what do you think is the most important regarding this competitiveness of the tourism industry in Sri Lanka, and I want to ask from you any recommendations that you have to give in this regard.
With the blessing of Mr. Wickramasinghe and Mr. Patirage like leaders, I think we would definitely recover back very soon. The most important thing is, I think we should not forget that sustainable tourism application is very important. Now global tourism is now driven by sustainable tourism applications. So therefore, it is better to be proactive and make Sri Lanka tourism is a very sustainable tourism destinations. So the application of sustainable tourism practices in different aspects, operation of hotel, destination management, travel agencies, I think this is a very important aspect we should think about in future challenges. Now government has introduced organic food. That is a very interesting area and very competitive area for Sri Lanka tourism development. Now we have seen that most of the European tourists, they are hugely tend to consume more organic product. So that can be capitalized right now if we can develop such thing. I think we have a great potentials. Rather than telling that we have great potential, better we try to capitalize these potentials. I always believe that Sri Lanka, what we are reaching right now, number of tourists, is a tip of the iceberg. So if we can reach more than this, for example, Singapore is, total population is 7 million, but they are taking more than 15 million tourists. But they are managing very well. When you go to Singapore, we don't feel that overcrowded cities. So therefore, the management must be very important, but we have to be patient and we have to trust our nations. And we have to trust our leaders, specifically private sector, and be together and work together and share the benefit together fairly is a very important.
Thank you so much, Professor. I believe that is what we have to, in order to drive towards a future, we have to believe in ourselves and then be courageous and be patient in this moment, since everyone in the industry is facing the pandemic and facing negative consequences out of it. So we have to be patient, we have to be courageous, as well as we have to promote tourism industry in our authentic way. Yes. So I believe with that we will be winding up our panel discussion, and if the audience has any question to raise, you have the time to raise your questions now.
Good evening to everybody, and my heartfelt thank goes to all the panelists. I have a small question to Mr. Patirage, and you mentioned clearly that the connectivity is almost done and you have taken few more steps to fulfill the future requirements. And also you mentioned that with the upcoming shopping malls and the recent development are ready to face to welcome the tourists. I would like to know with one word, what is lagging behind from the countryside, like to bringing down the tourist, what is lagging behind?
No, nothing. I mean, it's unfortunate, I told you. It's nothing to do with, the tourism promotion or infrastructure or anything. If we hadn't had, Easter attacks and, COVID, today probably we must be receiving 5 million tourists. I'm very sure about that. So this is nothing to, Easter attack was our problem, right? There was a terrorism attack in the country. Then we were recovering very well by December. But then we were hit with, we noticed from January itself the tourism started to come down because China already had the problem. By March we closed the airport. right? So it was not only, COVID is not only our problem, it's a global situation. So I think we are fully ready, right? I mean, if we hadn't had those things, today you would see, so much of, tourists inside this mall today, right? And, most of the hotel projects would have been completed. Some of the hotels which have, should have completed and opened about 2 years back or 1 year back is not even have opened, right? So this was unfortunate, I mean, from a country perspective and globally. East attack was obviously our problem. So I think, there's nothing we can do about that,
So,
right?
do you
I think we
that-
need to move forward. That's what I said. If the situation, improves, right? If you can get over this COVID, I think COVID is not going to be, we are not going to see the CEO of COVID overnight. But I think what we need to be, like Mr. Chandra Wickramasinghe, right? We have to learn to live with COVID. You have to defeat COVID, right? By ourselves. Not, if we are going to be worried about COVID, I don't think that we will overcome this. COVID is going to prevail. It's a pandemic. It's endemic now, right? Probably. So we will live. It will be like flu. So I think we have now, I'm sure that most of our population has taken the vaccine. Now the government is giving the boost as well. So I think now we need to take those precautions and move on with our lives and get on with our lives. I think that is what we need to do.
So reaching the 7 million tourists will be in near future, will not be a dream for us, right?
No, I think, see, I mean, now the professor said that, Singapore is attracting 15 million, you said, right? I think Dubai is attracting 20 million. What is Dubai? Dubai has been built on a desert. I mean, look at Sri Lanka. We have everything, right? Now, probably Dubai must be having more entertainment like the malls and shopping. Initially, they started off with that. What else they can offer? But we have everything to offer. I think we should be, if we market ourselves well, but you don't forget that we had a war, right? We went through such a long war. I think that's about 30-year-old war. So if we hadn't had that, today we would have beaten all these countries. Of course, I mean, you can't just beat the countries, you need proper leadership, right? So I think one key factor in all these is leadership. Why Dubai has got developed? Because there are strong leaders. Why Singapore has got developed? There is even today, they are very strong. Sometimes people might say those are undemocratic countries, but too much democracy also doesn't work in this part of the world. If you want to develop yourself, you have to stay put. Every decision is not going to be, popular, but we need to take certain decisions and move forward. So I think leadership is very critical in terms of, achieving 7 million or 15 million. That's the difference between 7 and 15. Let me put it that way.
Thank you, sir.
We can give the opportunity to another 2 people from the audience.
Evening. First of all, thank you very much for the panel for sharing your knowledge with us. My main question is actually we have seen a lot of pilgrims going from Sri Lanka to like Sambodhi and Mahabodhi. They do pilgrims to India and I think Sambodhi does to Thailand also. Why can't we bring down Thailand people, because we have a huge Buddhist tourism in Sri Lanka. Why can't we capitalize this, and why can't we bring pilgrims to Sri Lanka? We talk about inclusive growth in theoretical way, theoretical forums, and but practically how can we achieve this? It's an open question.
You see, there are a lot of Thailand groups are coming already to Sri Lanka as they visit all the temples, Anuradhapura and Kandy, Dalada, Maligaon and go. But I said, we like Sri Lankans going to India, we don't have Indians coming to Sri Lanka on this, they are coming on Ramayana, right? So Buddhist tourism is, we have a lot of European Buddhists coming to Sri Lanka which are not making big noises. But we have a plan now to Japanese, Thailand people, especially Thailand and Japan. Japanese Buddhists are coming. And we need to go more into Buddhist philosophy driven Buddhist tourism rather than taking them to temples. Like there are a lot of meditation centers, have started, and we have clients coming in to do meditation, yoga. Yoga is very Indian, but a lot of Buddhist meditation is combined with Ayurveda. We have that product, but we are not coming in very big numbers. As you said earlier, the tourist is a consumer. So you have to bring the consumers here. No, it's not like any other export good where you packet it and export into those countries. So we have to make them to decide from there to come here. So product has to be, we are selling basically a dream, because they don't know before they come. We can send them nice, this is if a shirt or something like that, they can get one sample, then order the rest. Here it's not like that. It's not very easy. That's what airlines and all these guys are doing fantastic promises, dream promises for them to visit these countries. As the religious tourism or pilgrimage are very important, and we have to look into it more sort of carefully. And I think the Buddhist tourism will prosper in time to come, especially with after COVID issues. A lot of people want to, go for different, different kind sect of tourism.
I want to add, this government budget also, they have clearly mentioned that wellness tourism. I think wellness tourism promotion and Buddhist tourism can be incorporated. That is actually one of the highest growing segment of global tourism. The senior tourists are right now growing. So therefore, we will be having a more potential to promote Buddhist tourism. Now, University of Columbia has taken the initiation with Ridivya. We are going to have the training sessions for different temples, those who are promoting tourism, hospital management, basically the staff, those who involved with Buddhist tourism services. So we are going to start in December. So we realize that this is a great market segment Sri Lanka must capitalize.
All right. Another person, one person. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. It's okay, okay. I think it is very beneficial for us to know those experts and those business tycoons' opinions about Sri Lanka tourism recovery after the pandemic period. But in my opinion, anyway, COVID, it will have a lifetime cycle, right? Especially for the economy, even for this kind of pandemic. Maybe next year, maybe at the end of next year, this kind of worst situation will be changed. And then what about our preparation for this? And because I just joined this forum as an audience about 3 times from last 4 days, I got some ideas, but I find a very difficult things because tourism is a very macro opinion, and also it is a large-scale business regarding the hotel, hospitality, commercial, retail, food, lodge, and even the articles and the souvenirs, everything. And as a foreigner, I just got a question for Professor Suranga. As per the statistics for the Sri Lanka tourists, foreign tourists from those top source countries like India, UK, China, America, Maldives, even Germany. and Russia. I think they got a different, how to say, consumption behaviors, and also they got a different demand. Sri Lanka is a Western style country with the abundant religious source like Buddhism, as we talk about it. But for different countries, for the different tourists, they got different demand. Such as we know Western people maybe will just choose Nigambo or Kandy Nora area about 1 week or 2 weeks. They stay at the hotel. They consume everything at the hotel. But for the Russia, what about the Russia tourists? And even if we go to the airport, right? The Russia guys, I also got some friends, they are dealing with a duty-free business. They told me that. For the Russia guys, they normally just buy the liquors at the duty-free shops. But what about the Chinese consumptions, right? They normally just in a group. And what about their age? Particularly for those Chinese. We can see that from 2009 to 2015,
Why
right?
don't you tell you what's your question?
My question is that for the different source of countries, what about our strategy? We have to, even for the hotel, for the different restaurant, we have to got a specific market segmentation strategy for different countries, particularly for the Chinese. My question for Professor Suranga, what about the strategy we should take for those hotels and
Yes, we can
consumptions?
understand because time factor also very important. So Sri Lanka tourism is doing very well, segmenting the tourism market according to the different type of customers and tourists. I think tourist board will be doing very good market analysis. Now we have seen that we also involved with different type of market analysis and research work. Our master students are doing. But you know that as Mr. Patrike said, okay, now this is the new start for Sri Lanka tourism. But China has not had that experience because China was not affected because of the Easter Sunday attack, because we were the only country in this world. We got the double hit. One is we got 2019 the terrorist attack. Before recovering it, we got the COVID pandemic. So otherwise, as Mr. Patrike said, we would definitely be a good position. But as you said that today is very important to understand the different behavior of tourists in different destination and different origin of tourist arrivals. So that's a good suggestion. I think because of time factor, if Mr. Patrike was to say something.
No, I think that something we have been doing. I can tell you, with my experience, before COVID, we had so many Chinese tourists coming to our hotel department store, and we had translators. So we have been completely ready, right? So that is how the tourism, has been treating, they understand all these requirements of different nations. So those will automatically come. I can guarantee you, our Sri Lankan tourism, people who have invested, big stakeholders like, Mr. Wickramasinghe and everyone, and these malls, they are very hungry, okay? So we will take all the measures when the right time comes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Patrike, Mr. Wickramasinghe, and Professor Suranga, for your pragmatic and wonderful insights you brought to this platform. Now I believe all of us know that in this tourism industry, competitiveness is something that is very important that we have to focus on, and because of our highly depending nature in the tourism industry, and we have to create these new products in the tourism industry moving forward, and always think globally and act locally, not imitate what is happening in Maldives and India and bringing them down to Sri Lanka and doing the same thing, but take the best practices, filter them, and then make them in our own unique way, and then implement them in Sri Lanka. And always, as Mr. Wickramasinghe said, yes, we are selling our tourism product, but what we are doing is selling dreams to the tourists. So these dreams should not be common dreams, but unique dreams that can be found only in Sri Lanka. We were known like a land like no other. So we have to give a definition to that tagline, I guess. So again, I would like to thank my esteemed panelists. Once again, it was an honor, and thank you very much. And I would like to thank all the participants in here as well for joining with us today and staying until the end of the session. So now I would like to invite Professor Suranga to give the token of appreciation to our panelists. Mr. Pathirage, if you can come forward. Mr. Vikramasinghe. Yes, we would like to take a photograph of this. Yeah, we would like to take a photograph with the panelists. Yes. Days. We started it initially on 15th November. And all right. Participants, we are now moving to an exciting segment, so please remain on your seats for a little while. We are going to start the raffle draw by Emirates Holidays. They are one of the main sponsors of our Sri Lankan Tourism Expo. So they are here with us bringing you a great gift. The Emirates Holidays is giving you up and down free tickets with 3 nights package in a 4-star hotel. 2 people are entitled to go the tour. And that's a small thing to be done. If you are interested, you just have to put your business card in this box. If you are willing to participate, you can drop your business card here, because you might be the lucky winner. Please go ahead. All right. Okay, to select today's winner, I would like to invite the manager in charge of Emirates Holidays, Sri Lanka, Mr. Imran Rasif, to come over to the stage. Mr. Imran?
Thank you, Damsi. I think Mr. Imran is not here. I think like he'll be here in another couple of minutes. But I'm here for the next segment. I have to thank the esteemed panel today for sharing their perceptions and their experience and their contribution towards the industry. And from the Colombo University, we thank them a lot. And again, when you're looking back for the last 3 days, I know how the tourism and the hospitality sector, it has been a tough time for us for the last 2 years. And the Colombo University, especially the Alumni Association of Tourism, Economics and Hospitality Management, we get together and we created this platform to all the stakeholders in the industry to come together and showcase their products. So it was very difficult, as I was in the steering committee as well, it was very difficult to organize this during this crisis time. Anyhow, we got a lot of support from the One Goal Face mall management, where they provided the venue and a lot of things. And as you can see, all the stakeholders as well. So this is the last day of the travel show, not the expo. So as you experienced, on the first floor, we had a lot of stalls given to our stakeholders where they can showcase their products and their services. And it was a very good movement that we pulled off together with your support. Right now, what I want to tell you again, from tomorrow onwards, we'll be continuing the culinary fiesta, the mocktail competition, and the cake decoration sessions, where it'll help the local community and all the organizations and the individuals as well. So why I'm here today, we would like to appreciate all the stakeholders who took the opportunity to come to One Goal Face Mall and to take our offer. So I have a huge respect of those organizations who have come to be a partner with this exclusive travel show. For that, I would like to invite Professor Suranga Silva, the coordinator of the tourism study programs, and again, Mr. Chandra Wickramasinghe, chairman of Theme Resorts, to give out the appreciation to all our stakeholders. Sir? First of all, I would like to bring all the accommodation providers, as we had more than 30 accommodation providers around the country. First of all, I would like to call Mr. Basil from Tangerine Group to receive the certificate. Please come to the stage, sir, please. Thank you very much for being a partner with us. So appreciate if you can post the camera as well. Eco Hotels and Resorts. Oakray Hotels and Resorts. Laya Hotels. Goldie Sand Hotels and Suri Resort, Waikala. Team Resorts and Spas representative. Arangala Forest. The Other Corner Hotel. Any representative from Other Corner Hotel? If not, next would be Earls Group Hotels. Villa Hundira Hotel. And again, I had to tell you, there were a lot of hotels that the representative are still downstairs in the expos as they have to conduct their business. Amaya Resorts and Spa, Welligama Bay Marriott Resorts and Spa, Sheraton Cosgoda Turtle Beach Resort, Mirage Kings Cottage Norelia, Club Vaskadua Beach Hotel Resorts and Spa, Asia Leisure Hotels, Mirage Kings Cottage Norelia, the Linden Grove Hotel, the Mapakada Village, Queens and Swiss Hotel Kandy. Now, I would like to move into our education institutes. First one would be the Queen's College. Any representatives from the Queen's College? Navaloka Higher Education. I think still they are busy with the downstairs stalls. Management and Science Institute, MSU. Study Reserve. Any representative from Study Reserve? Royal Business College of Higher Education. And again, CINEC campus, and again, our very own University of Colombo. Now, for the last section, I'll be moving into other tourism-related products and services, which is a huge part of the tourism industry. Akers Spence Travels, who are Akers Spence Travels, Ceylon Best Tours, the professional with the wedding planners, Bentota Water Sports Center, Air Travel Services Private Limited, Martin and George, Lanka Spice Private Limited, Hidden Sri Lanka, Eco Team, Eco Team, and again Paradise Island Safari. And there were other stakeholders who are not here but still they are downstairs. The Acorn Travels, Helagedara, Mars Holidays, Vienna Whale Watching Mirissa, and Royal Spice Garden. And again, finally from Victor Towers, So this has been a very successful travel show for us since we are doing it for the first time. And again, like to for representing Colombo University, I'd like to call Ms. Kashmira to come and receive the certificate. Thank you, Mr. Vikramasinghe. You have always been helping us throughout the years. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Mr. Sumit. And I had to mention Mr. Anushka and again Brigadier Lalit, who was driving the travel expo, the travel show. So again, I would like to mention here that we will be starting our culinary fiesta and cocktail and mocktail competition from tomorrow onwards. You are more than welcome to come and visit and enjoy and experience the local cuisines and beverages. I would like to wrap up this session and we call it a day. And again, still the downstairs stalls will be operating. And again, Mr. Irfan is here, so he will be announcing the today's winner. Today, the winner is Mr. Rohan Tudave from the Tudai Brothers Private Limited. So thank you, Mr. Rohan. So he will be helping us throughout the expo, which will be finishing on the 21st. So I warmly welcome you to join as well.
Thank you very much. And it's the last raffle which we had promised. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Irfan, for your support. So as I mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, we will call it a day and we will wrap up all the proceedings here in the discussion forums extended by the Tourism Leaders Summit. So travel safe. Thank you very much. Good night.